The fire fades once more. With the Age of Dark looming, the world must turn to the Lords of Cinder to reignite the flame. But the Lords have abandoned their thrones. The world is free falling into ruin, and one lone hero will rise to usher in a new era. This is the final chapter of one of the best RPG series of the last decade. A tale of fearsome foes, flawed heroes, despair, and hope. This is Dark Souls 3. The story of the Dark Souls series has been one of its most captivating elements, and this is definitely true in Dark Souls 3. As an Unkindled, you embark on a quest to bring the 5 Lords of Cinder back to their thrones, dead or alive. Doing so will allow you to link the fire, ushering in a new age of fire and life for the world. The hunt for the Lords of Cinder is the main point of the game's plot, but there are so many great side stories and extensive lore to dive into. Like the previous games, most of Dark Souls 3's story is told through the lore in item descriptions, NPC dialogue, and the environments of the game world itself. This allows the player to learn more about the stories behind boss enemies, events from past games, and so on. Exploring the lore of the Dark Souls games has always been one of my favorite parts of these titles, and all the lore bits here are absolutely superb. Along with the main story, there's a great many NPC storylines to experience. The characters from Dark Souls are among the most memorable RPG characters you'll ever run across, and Dark Souls 3 has some great new additions. From the cheery, adventurous, and somewhat sleepy Sigurd of Katarina to the malicious Ringfinger Leonhard, there are some really exciting characters who become part of your adventure. While the locations and continuations of these character storylines can sometimes be hard to find initially, once you discover them, it makes the story all the more enthralling. Seeing these side stories to the end unlocks all sorts of rewards, and they are set up so you can't see them all in one go, encouraging multiple playthroughs.
That was quite a performance. But you mustn't get in over your head. We Unkindled must put our duties first. But, for the moment, we've a toast to make. To your valor, my sword, and our victory together. Long may the sun shine!
The tale of Dark Souls 3 is indeed a satisfying conclusion to the series. Many questions from the previous games are addressed, and there are some absolutely jaw-dropping moments in this game, particularly for those who have been with the series from the beginning. What I love is there's still an air of mystery once the game is finished. There are no easy answers in Dark Souls, and it's fitting that the series concludes on such a somber tone.
Knowest thou of our purpose? 5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the fire. The fast-fading flame must be linked to preserve this world. A reenactment of the first linking of the fire. So it is, I became a Lord of Cinder. I may be but small, but I will die a Colossus.
While the story of Dark Souls may keep you motivated until the end, it's the game's brilliantly designed combat engine that keeps you coming back for more. Players who have played the previous games will be right at home with Dark Souls 3. The game still has the great, weighty, and extremely satisfying combat the series is known for. Managing your health, stamina, and attacks while surviving the challenging enemies the game throws at you is key. Play recklessly, and you will be punished. Observing the enemy's patterns and waiting for the opportune moments to strike is how to succeed in Dark Souls. And just when you think you have the game mastered, you run across a new enemy that will make you rethink your combat strategies. Should you equip a shield and block the enemy's attacks? Or just perform a well-timed dodge roll? Should you take that enemy down with melee attacks or strike from afar with bows and magic? Playstyles are numerous, and each is rewarding and fun in its own way. My first playthrough was as a sorceress, and while I could keep enemies at a distance with my magic, once they got in close, it didn't take much to kill me. In contrast, my second playthrough as a knight allowed me to get in close and receive less damage, but also dish out more damage myself. The gameplay of Dark Souls 3 continues to be, in my opinion, the near-perfect action RPG setup. Every fight is rewarding, and the challenging enemies of Dark Souls makes that feeling of satisfaction even greater. Speaking of enemies, the Dark Souls series is known for having some terrific boss fights, and Dark Souls 3 delivers some of the best and inventive in the whole series. There are more traditional one-on-one boss fights, and then there's the encounters where you must face off against numerous foes at once. Every boss battle is a learning experience, and once you discover their pattern or weakness, you have that wonderful aha moment where everything clicks, and through your skill as a player, you prevail. The game's bosses sometimes aren't straightforward fights either. The battle against High Lord Wolnir is a good example of this, as you can't damage him directly. But once you discover how to defeat him, it makes the battle very thrilling. There are so many great boss battles in this game, and I don't want to spoil too many of them here. Just know that they are all challenging fights, and each and every one of them made for some truly supreme gaming moments. However, you aren't in this fight all by yourself. If a boss or area is proving too difficult for you, you can call on other players to help. By summoning other Dark Souls players, you can team together to take down some of the game's tougher enemies. Co-op sessions with other players are just as fun as going it alone, and some of the game's fights are even more enjoyable with a friend or two. Be warned though, not every player wants to help you out, and occasionally you will be invaded by another human player to duke it out in a PvP session. Other players helping or hindering your progress has always been one of the standout features of the Souls series. And through the game's many multiplayer covenants, you can choose what online experience you want to be a part of. I generally like to help other people out, but you may find invading other players' worlds is more your preference. All in all, the game of Dark Souls 3 is enjoyable in of itself, but the online experiences give it that extra helping of fun. Whether you are trekking through the land of Lothric alone or with a pal, the game has some of the most beautiful and unsettling environments in the series. Grand cathedrals and poison swamps, staples of the franchise, make their return, along with some great new areas like the moonlit Boreal Valley. Every location is filled with enemies, but to help you on your journey, you can rest at bonfires to restore your healing Estus Flask. By warping at bonfires, you can fast travel to previously discovered locations, or to Firelink Shrine, the main hub of the game. Like the Nexus in Demon's Souls, the Firelink Shrine is separated from the rest of the world and provides a relatively safe place to level up all the souls you've collected, upgrade weapons, and buy items from the various characters who will populate the shrine as the game goes on. I love the design of the new Firelink Shrine, and I will say it tops Majula as my favorite hub in the series. As you can tell by this point, I've enjoyed my time with Dark Souls 3 to the nth degree. The combat, characters, visuals, not to mention the incredible soundtrack, make this a simply beautiful RPG experience. There are so many other elements I could go in depth about, like the new weapon art system or the extensive optional areas, but just know that Dark Souls 3 is well worth your time. Like the previous games, victory may not always come easy, but when you do obtain it, you know full well you earned it. This, combined with the game's captivating world and exhilarating online features, make this a solid third and final installment in the series. Dark Souls 3 is easily in the running for my favorite 5 games of this year, and it's an adventure I know I will come back to time and time again. This is the finale of the saga, the end of the great struggle between fire and dark, and an RPG adventure that must absolutely not be missed. Thank you for watching this episode of Game Reflections. What are your thoughts on Dark Souls 3? Feel free to share in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to praise the sun. Until next time, keep having great adventures, everyone!
We may go our separate ways now, but we are both seekers of lords. The next time we cross paths, one may find the other in a time of need. May the flames guide your way.